What's going on today, guys? Massive Reactor here, and today we'll be checking out Yokai's How Spotify is Killing Funk video. This is a pretty massive video. It's got almost 4 million views. If you don't know, funk is a genre. It's kind of like old school trap mixed with like Memphis rap vocals. Kind of have a feeling I know what he's going to say already, but I believe this video is a pretty big deal from what I've heard.
What does funk sound like? Does it sound like this?
Yes.
Or does it sound like this? Depending on when and where you discovered funk, the answer could go either way. If you're like me and you discovered funk through SoundCloud a few years ago, you'd probably say the first track best represents funk.
Not all of you may know this, but I've actually been making funk on SoundCloud since like 2014 or 15 or so. It used to sound more like the first track. The funny thing is a lot of the early stuff, a lot of the original Memphis rap tracks would actually use cowbell a lot. And I think that's where the influence came from originally. It's been really like leaned into a lot with the whole drift funk thing.
But if you're like,
and I think it's really weird how it's got this like house influence now. That's a strange thing to me.
The millions of listeners who have discovered funk through TikTok, you'd probably go with the second one. Since 2020, Russian producers have been going viral on TikTok with their distorted cowbell-heavy take on the funk genre. Just last year, Spotify caught on and decided to give funk its very own editorial playlist.
Yeah, this whole playlist is nothing but drift funk, nothing but cowbells and house.
For the funk scene, which for years had been relegated to an obscure corner of SoundCloud, this was huge. The genre finally had institutional support from one of the largest streaming services in the world. But whether Spotify knew it or not, this playlist would end up doing more harm for the scene than good.
Basically because this sound kind of hijacked the name and, it's not really, it's paying homage in some ways, but it's kind of like so different from the original sound that it's not really relevant, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Whenever I upload a classic sounding funk track, like something more like the DJ Smokey stuff, I don't really even know where to try to submit it for an editorial because the only kind of funk they play on Spotify is this cowbell. It's actually got me thinking about just making cowbell at this point because I don't really know what else to do.
On paper, the funk playlist was a godsend. Funk producers had been asking for a dedicated editorial playlist
in 5X
for years, and here it was, now with over 400,000 followers. Even a single placement on a playlist of this size could completely change the trajectory of somebody's musical career. The funk playlist brings in so many streams that for many of the artists featured, it's their top playlist. So what's the catch? Well, unless you make cowbell-heavy funk tracks that TikTok would love,
drift funk,
you don't have any realistic chance of ending up on the playlist.
Yep.
Of the
literally every single track in it is drift funk. 100
tracks currently featured, 87 of them fit into a subgenre that for years has been called drift funk.
It's just crazy to me that's what took off. It's like so simplistic and so, I don't want to say it's not creative, but it all sounds the same essentially.
As far back as 2019, this distorted cowbell-heavy version of funk was being used in compilation videos of JDM cars drifting around narrow corners, earning it the title of Drift Funk. But of course, the average TikToker isn't aware of this subtle distinction.
Jungle funk, I never heard of that one. Hyper funk, funk house. What do I make? I probably make God, what the hell's jungle funk? I don't know. I think I just make like plug funk or like classical funk, whatever the you call it.
So when drift funk started going viral, it established the public's definition of funk. Nearly every funk tutorial thereafter was centered around the drift funk style, with some even believing that cowbells were a requirement in funk music. Amidst all of this, Spotify launched in Russia in July of 2020. Millions of Russians flocked to the platform to stream their favorite funk artists, giving a noticeable boost to funk's popularity on Spotify. Drift funk benefited not only from this influx of Russian listeners, but also its recent meteoric rise on TikTok, giving it a competitive edge over the other styles of funk. Now, think about this from a perspective of a Spotify executive. You've never heard of funk before, but it's blowing up on TikTok and generating millions of streams on Spotify, particularly from Russian listeners.
I mean, the thing is, like, they don't know any better. They just see what's popular, and what's popular in TikTok is the cowbell. So, like, when they see that, they assume that's just what the genre is, I don't really blame them because I don't think they really know the difference. I think, at least. I mean, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on that.
With that in mind, Spotify's next steps actually make a lot of sense. Just 10 months after launching in Russia, Spotify announces the Funk playlist in May of 2021. Knowing how many Russians have flocked to the platform for this type of music, they decide to target Russian listeners specifically, announcing the playlist via Spotify Russia. In preparation, Spotify hires someone to research the origins of the genre, attaching a short write-up to the announcement. The write-up correctly mentions some of the forefathers of funk, including 3 6 Mafia and DJ Smokey, but from here, Spotify's decisions start to make a lot less sense. It doesn't appear that
That's crazy. So it seems like they knew better.
the person who wrote the write-up is curating the playlist. I say this because, while DJ Smokey is mentioned in the write-up as a pioneer
He's not in there. Neither is DJ Young Vamp, and pretty much none of those people are. No one who's like making anything of it. Because I looked at it recently.
of the genre, he hasn't been featured on the playlist once. The same can be said of other pioneers not mentioned in the write-up, including Sudier, Purple Posse, Holy Mob, and a number of others. From the beginning, the funk playlist has almost exclusively
Holy Mob, a little bit of self-promo there.
featured drift funk, particularly drift funk tracks that have gone viral on TikTok. So, it's easy to see why the funk playlist has been fraught with
Hey, it's Red Hands. What's up, man?
controversy since
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to notice. I have a feeling I'm going to know a lot of people in this video.
its creation. Millions of people were listening to funk
Hey, Sword.
before drift funk went viral, and now they're beginning to wonder when other styles of funk will see the spotlight.
They're not going to.
Drift funk's popularity on TikTok inevitably led to a misunderstanding of what funk is, and you can't necessarily blame anyone for that. We can't expect everyone on the internet to understand the nuance of this niche genre, but we can expect that of a Spotify playlist editor. Unfortunately, Spotify has only exacerbated the public's misunderstanding of funk by exclusively promoting drift funk and simply labeling it as funk. By reducing funk to nothing more than trendy cowbell music, Spotify's funk playlist absolutely has the potential to kill the genre. What will happen to the playlist?
It's hard to say if it'll kill the genre, but I think like it's such a simple sound that people could get tired of it pretty quickly. Like I wouldn't be surprised if within a few years it is dead. So I do get the point of what he's saying.
When drift funk's virality eventually dies off? Will the playlist stop being updated entirely? We're already getting a glimpse of this, with less than half of the tracks being added in the last 3 months. With so much funk music on Spotify today, there's really no reason for so many tracks to stay on the playlist for that long. We care so much about this playlist because we know what it can be, and it's frustrating to see it fall so short. If drift funk dies off and Spotify lets the playlist die with,
I bet you the comments in this video are like absolutely insane.
funk could remain in SoundCloud's underground indefinitely. And
Dude, Hide Up by Sodier is like one of like the songs that got me into this sound. This is like one of the best songs ever.
some of us
It's
might
super catchy.
be okay with that, but many of us want this scene to get the institutional support that it needs to reach the mainstream.
Man, I only hope one of my tracks or mixes pops up on the screen here. Come on.
The funny thing is, Spotify's algorithms already have a pretty good understanding of what funk is. Look no further than Spotify's Sound of Funk playlist,
Oh, I think I'm in that one.
which is 100% algorithmically curated
Dude, I'm actually in that one. Tight.
and includes a lot of the pioneers that I mentioned before. Even Spotify would agree that it doesn't make sense for their editorial funk playlist and their algorithmic Sound of Funk playlist to be so drastically different. Spotify, with this playlist, you have the chance to set the record straight.
Okay, so what I'm guessing is happening is they probably know they're doing wrong. I'm assuming maybe the edit, like they probably thought about it and they were like, oh, a lot of the listeners are coming from Russia, and I'm assuming the Russian listeners aren't really into the other sounds of funk, so they're basically just making those people happy.
The chance to educate millions of listeners on the rich history that this incredibly unique genre has to offer. Drift funk is great, and I'm a fan of many of the artists in the playlist, but even they could tell you that drift funk is just a tip of the iceberg. Do yourself a favor and dive beneath the surface and discover the thousands of other artists that have helped make the scene what it is today. Or, if you'd rather just give the playlist to someone who knows what they're talking about, I might know a guy. Thanks so much for watching, guys.
That was
If you
good.
want Spotify to see this video, be sure to share it with them. This year I'm just going to focus on making shorter mini documentaries like this. So if you want to see more of that, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment what you want to see next. See you guys in the next one. Peace.
That was good. That was a good video from Yokai, how Spotify is killing funk. It's pretty short and to the point. Usually these sort of videos are like 20 minutes or something, but I think he just jumped straight to what you need to know, how things could be better. I do agree that Spotify is sort of killing funk, or at least I don't know if I would say they're killing funk, but I would say that they're killing off the chance of it being a more understood, diverse genre to the public in favor of making a bunch of Russian listeners happy, I'm assuming. I doubt they're going to change it. It's too beneficial for them. I didn't expect to see so many cameos from people I knew in there. If you guys enjoyed this video, though, I'm going to link it in the description. Make sure to check it out. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, his channel, if you haven't. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Bang Incorporated.